Just start. There's power in just starting, but I know sometimes that's easier said than done. Do you ever feel paralyzed by the sheer number of ideas swirling in your head? I know I have. It's like a child in a candy store who wants to try all the flavors but is overwhelmed with the amount of choices. There's so many things I want to create, so many projects I want to tackle, but time is always in short supply, and that's where the struggle begins. The multitude of ideas can suddenly make you feel overwhelmed and frustrated. I find myself caught in this loop. I want to do everything, but I can't. I have to choose, to prioritize. And somehow making that choice feels like saying goodbye to all the other possibilities. Opportunity cost? Even worse, when a project feels too daunting, I catch myself falling into the trap of social media. As I discussed in my video about boredom, I turn to social media when I feel the project is too daunting and overwhelming. I mean, it's easier to scroll than to face the blank canvas, right? Even though I know the importance of boredom is to help with creativity and focus, to be comfortable with that uncomfortable feeling of not knowing where to start is a bit hard. But it's a skill I'm still practicing. The truth is, even with all the free time in the world, I still couldn't bring every single idea to life immediately. It would take years, maybe a lifetime. We're all limited by time and resources, and that's okay. So, how can we break free from this situation? Well, here are 3 things I try to remind myself when I'm feeling very overwhelmed with a project. Take a break. Take the time to be bored. Your frustration may be a response to burnout or stress. Take a break and slow down. There's no need to rush your art and creation. Be patient with yourself, and before you know it, you have the motivation to keep creating art at your own pace. And whatever you do, resist the urge to reach for your phone. Instead, sit with your thoughts. Art isn't a race. It's not about who finishes first or who produces the most. It's about expression, exploration, and growth. When we rush, we often miss the subtle inspirations around us. We overlook the details that could elevate our work. Next, break your projects into smaller projects. Choose one tiny aspect of your project and focus on that. When faced with a large project, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. The key is to break it down into smaller, manageable pieces. Think microscopic. The smaller, the better. This makes it less daunting to complete. For example, I'm painting a landscape here. I'm trying not to think about the entire scene, instead focusing on the smaller parts like the little house over here or the little house over there, just one thing at a time. The shade of colors it has and the shape of windows. When you break your project into smaller projects, you experience the feeling of accomplishing your goals quickly. Each small task you complete is a victory. You can celebrate your wins, and this continues to drive your energy towards completing the full project. It's like they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. And lastly, embrace imperfection. Your first attempt doesn't have to be a masterpiece. As someone who is a bit of a perfectionist, I often struggle to start projects. I'm afraid that the end result won't meet my expectations, and as a result, I often give up on it. I see it as a failure and a waste of time, which is quite ridiculous. Try to find joy in the act of creating itself, rather than fixating on the end result only. When you love the process, you're more likely to keep going despite the imperfections. Time spent practicing is never wasted. Even if a project doesn't turn out as I expected, I always learn something from it. Failed projects teach me what doesn't work so I can improve in the future. I really had to drill this one in my head as I was painting this landscape. I felt like I needed to use a smaller brush or maybe use a bigger page for the details. The painting didn't look sharp in my eyes, but I went along with it and embraced it. In creative fields, what we often perceive as failures are actually stepping stones. These productive failures provide invaluable lessons and insights that contribute to our growth as artists. So my message to myself and others like me is to be patient and keep learning. Embrace your imperfections. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed by your ideas, take a break if you need to. Break your project into tiny steps and don't be afraid of imperfection. These are just the tools that will help you move from paralysis to progress. Remember, every great work of art started with a single brushstroke. Every novel began with just one word. The power isn't in doing everything, it's in starting something, anything. There's power in just starting. So, what will you start today?